Facebook post say?
That bitch was tagged.
Good? Okay. Do you have any plans?
Hello everybody, it's Gypsy Rose Day and we're all here, we're here and we are waiting on a guest. We have Dali, we have Bill Hammer, and look, we have Nicholas Godejohn there. We are waiting, stuff is happening. Good to see you all. I usually start in this layout, but happy to have everybody here. Let's go into this other layout. Let's go here. Dali, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. How's Bill?
I'm okay.
What's going on? What are you giggling about?
I want to know where I like taters is at.
Who is?
Where did
The
you go?
Defendant. He looks like Sling Blade.
I like taters.
Okay, well, check it out. I need to
in
bring something. I need to make something full screen. Hang on a second. Where are we? I'm just playing with the layout. Something. I don't know whether or not we have Excoma here or whether or not we have Haley here. But this.
Oh boy.
Yes. So hang on, I'll just take the banner away as well. Okay. So
They're a little juicier.
they're a fair bit juicier. And hang on.
Thank you.
Oh, there we are. Yeah. You like it? So yeah. So welcome back, everybody. We are back for another week of Gypsy Rose Blanchard coverage. And as you can see, Dali there has not too much coverage. There's Dali Rose and Excoma paid for the boob lift. And as you can see, there is even more boobage than ever before, as opposed to the original Gypsy cleavage.
It's a push-up bra.
Yeah. Well, no,
it's a point
advertising bra.
maybe you've had some work done. And then we also have the other thing that's happened is Haley asked for shoulder pads. So the shoulder pads have been installed, and they are even more shoulder paddy than ever. So that's the latest in the gypsification of Dali. And I think, who's better looking, guys?
Hard to say. I think I am.
It's a little
You
tough.
think you're better? It's a bit tough. Yeah.
It is a bit tough, but that Pam will help.
Hey, little peanut. Nice rack. You can hardly. Yeah, I know, right? That was a bit scary. Sorry. I just stick that on you, didn't I? Yes. You like that one? You happy with that? Happy with that? Pretty good. All right. So I just sent Brunker a link. He decided he snowed in, and he just said, hey, if you want to guess, send me a link. If not, no worries. Frozen in Colorado, so not much going on. And he's posted a picture of Elsa from Frozen. The cold never bothered me anyway. So cool. All right.
The Southern boy, the cold is bothering me.
Yeah.
It's snowing all day and it's cold.
Yeah. Hey, Cece, how are you? Good to see you. Iris, how are you? Nice. Why do people do that to their nose? Oh, your daughter has that, really? Yeah. Yeah. My niece just got one of those ones right through the middle. I've got one of those ones that like the fairy goes ding like that and gives you a little one there, but not the one through the middle. Fairy one's nice. Yes. There was a young lady called Bella whose Photoshop skills are quite stellar. With a flick of a brush, what's it say? Flick of a brush and a creative flourish, she can make a rose from a fella. Ah, that's so cute. Tragic, that's so cute. Awesome. Okie dokie. Yes. Yeah, it would be hard to snort coke with them. Hey, there is a positive side to it. Indeed. Okay, so that was cool, tragic. That was very cool. Alrighty, so we're gonna get into it. Now, the way we're gonna do it today is wrong layout.
Lactator.
We are into the testimony of the expert witnesses of Nick Godejohn, so the defense. So we've seen last week the testimony of Gypsy Rose, and as we were surprised to find out, that was actually the defense. So we thought that she was going to be called by the state, but she was not. And you had something to add about that, Veal.
Yes. So I found out that apparently the deal that she took actually was never that she would testify against him. She just got a sweetheart deal, probably because they thought that she was very sympathetic. So that was never part of the plan, though. There was no conditions of her accepting the plea other than whatever parole or whatever it is. But like, there was no, for the plea itself, it was just that she had to plead guilty and they were going to not give her more than 10 years. So
I find that just like, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like 10 years with parole for that level of involvement. Like, did she completely have the state wrapped around her little pinky finger? I don't get it.
I mean, she had most people wrapped around her finger, didn't she?
Well, she gave up something half Irish.
To Nick.
Yeah.
Well, she gave up some DNA.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, but so did he, though. I mean, they both spilled their guts. They both just absolutely.
But I think.
But okay, she looked like she was spilling her guts. This is the problem, right? She looked like she was, but she was actually painting a picture of things that was very colored. Yeah, she painted a picture of him being the manipulator and it all being his idea and him being very violent. Whereas he actually had never done anything violent before.
Yeah.
Never. He had no violent history whatsoever. No. So, and she even was in the interrogation room. She said, I hope that now he can get some help for his violent ways.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely was manipulating the story too.
Yes.
But like, I think, and this is, I think where the deal breaker comes in, is that he's the one that did the actual murder. Stabulating, unaliving, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yes.
He's the one that actually did it. So I think that's where the time comes in, but I still don't think that it's, like, in my opinion, I still don't think that it's very balanced.
Yes.
Especially when if you followed this dumpster fire, like long enough to see the trial and to hear like some of the different movies or docs that have been made, plus the Lifetime series, plus hearing all her interviews and all this stuff, like her story continues to change.
Yes.
It's like, well, what is it? What is the actual truth here? Like, and I don't think that
she's allowed to keep changing. She's free now.
Exactly. And that's an issue. Like, because clearly you manipulated your way out of this.
Absolutely.
And it's because she learned how to be a master manipulator from a master manipulator.
Absolutely. Hey, Mo.
Hello.
Welcome in.
You like to
So I don't know how much of that you just heard, but
no. Well, we're basically having the same conversation we've had on this entire trial, which is they're both victims of, let's be real. He wasn't very smart. She was smarter than him, at least in some ways, but still not very smart. So there was a decision made to kind of give her a bit of a deal. His defense, I think, did a terrible thing, which was inviting her in, because then it made it about her. I think that I really don't think I would have ever had her be a witness. I would have made it about I would have had to explain away his very interesting affect. I would have focused on his mental health, because what you're trying to get over with his case, at least from an outsider, and I haven't really gotten way deep into this case like I did Delphi, but from an outsider, what you're fighting with him, correct me if I'm wrong, is his confession and the jailhouse tape for the most part. And then his sort of courtroom demeanor, which is not, well, he looks unsettling. Let's be real.
I know he didn't present very well in front of the court at all. Absolutely not.
So what
that performance last time was not great.
So if I was his, super duper legal team, which I'm not, I would want to make, I'd want to make it very well known to the jury that these are the mental problems. This is why he has a flat affect. This is why he, has the mind of a 15-year-old. So, he's going to think, I'm going to rescue the damsel in distress. I'm going to have this wild fantasist sort of idea. I'm going to, I'm going to stare at you uncomfortably long. I'm not going to understand social cues. I mean, I would have the therapist, break down
that's what I'm wondering though, whether or not, because this is the next stage. We're going to have his experts come out, and whether or not they're going to say that, I don't know whether they're going to do a good job of that or not. And I have a feeling maybe not, because it didn't work, did it? Don't know.
Well, there's probably still some influence though, of the fact that he didn't present well and all that stuff, in court too. He has so much to overcome that it's it's just, I don't think that his team did a very good job at all.
No.
And
can you guys hear that rain out there?
Can what?
Well, yeah, and to be fair,
No.
I was just asking, can you hear that rain out there? Because it's really pouring out there now.
No.
Oh, good.
No, and to be fair, I mean, it is a hard case to explain. He does, with a very kind of cool, calm demeanor and kind of boastfully brag about doing this. But if you have someone explain he was in the mindset that he was a hero going to rescue someone,
A damsel in distress.
and he has the mind of a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So
yes. And there was the sort
16.
of sexual manipulation as well. Don't forget.
Yeah. But you have to be
was the dangling
careful
of the vajay.
well, and
The
you have to be
bedazzled
careful to not demonize her, because the public has already made her a victim.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that having her be a witness was just a terrible idea, but I don't know. I mean,
Clearly it was.
We can,
All right.
backseat drive this for forever, but I'm not a lawyer, so.
Or just pre-law, you see.
Babu, stop mounting Junior.
So what God, cats. I
Babu's
swear,
on
there's
top
nothing
of
going
Junior.
on. Oh, no.
That's okay.
Can we...
Fry tries to mount Thor. I'm going to end up with Cat Dog.
So what we're going to watch is a little short piece that Nick did a interview with this detective's den, and we're just going to watch a bit of it. And I seem to be okay to play it. So we'll have a little bit of a watch of this, because basically he's just being questioned about how he feels about the way Gypsy Rose has moved on. And it's quite interesting to see him a few years later. I tend to feel that he's still got feelings for her.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
It's not like he meets a lot of women.
No, he doesn't. But it's quite interesting. And I just thought, considering that we're now at a point where we're going to hear about him in the trial actually about him and his background and his difficulties mentally and his capacity. I think it'd be really interesting to actually hear how he is as a person, speaking to camera. So how about we do that, and then we'll get into the testimony. So it's only short.
Those those eyes are.
He does have the Kubrick look really.
He's going to be doing that speech that Quinn did Quinley did in Jaws. Doll's eyes, black eyes.
A doll's eyes.
First, I want to ask you, why did you agree to do this interview with us?
The reason I've agreed to do this interview was because when
I was promised a Twinkie.
My ex-co-defendant, Gypsy Blanchard, got a lot of attention, as she did, and she just kept on getting more and more attention. I felt that it's been tipped in one side of a scale to where I really wasn't getting much coverage. I wasn't being able to actually be able to voice my opinion. I wasn't able to let everyone know what I truly feel. I just know that she knows. She knows that I've taken the responsibility for mine already. I still have feelings for her. Of course, I will always have feelings for her. But
what?
Every human being needs to know and learn from their mistakes. And feel
how you feel.
Where me and her both are right now. We're learning from this mistake that we've both made. I mean,
my bad.
The way she was raised, no woman should ever, no child for that matter, should ever have to be raised that way. I did feel that she was not taking responsibility for her actions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, due to the way I know she was raised, I can't blame her. I can't. That, and along with my religion, with being a Christian, I know I'm not supposed to judge. So
Okay. Right. Can anyone else see in his eyes, like, and I'm no body language expert. I don't really believe in all that body language stuff that much. And not Dr. G.
Lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
Doll's eyes.
I had to Google the exact quote, but yes.
Yeah. That facial twitch makes him look like he's performative, whatever. Okay. He looks to me like he actually is for real, like he has feelings for her still.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Didn't you? You never forget your first three-hole wonder.
Yeah, it's true.
Or Salbert.
It's true.
Well, now I'm wondering what they've got him on, because he goes from being rather thin to, I'm wondering what cocktail of medications they have him on.
Hopefully not Valtrex.
I think Irish, this was like a year, 2 years ago. It's not that old. Like, it was, I believe, there was some sort of wave of documentaries and things made around, like, about a year or so ago, like leading up to knowing that she was going to be let out. Like, Lifetime and that have been building up all these documentaries and all knowing that she's going to get out at some point. And so other filmmakers are sort of writing on that as well. So I don't know who these people are. It says Detectives Den, but I imagine that there's sort of ancillary filmmakers that are going, okay, Lifetime's doing this thing, so we're going to do this thing.
Well, yeah.
Lifetime has been following her for 18 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
clearly they have, because it's
the uncomfortable smexiness they must have.
Prison and all this kind of stuff. And now the second she gets out, they're filming her, and it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks that she's been out, and there's already an episode of her following her around like a reality TV show. Basically, that's what's going on. What phrasing?
To be fair, I've seen how short her skirts are, and she's going on podcasts that do, like from the ground couch views.
So she's on casting couch.
She's headed straight towards OnlyFans. I'm telling you.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah, like there's so much more to this. Yeah, and I agree. Oh, yeah, the thing about the meds. You're right. Who said that to start off with? I saw this. about him losing weight and gaining weight again, and also there's some medication going on. And I'm not saying he probably needs medication.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
for
this
sure.
guy
Yes.
for sure needs medication. Like
No.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no question. So it's probably
Yeah.
fine. He's probably the way he's speaking to this person, and he seems fairly calm.
Yeah.
Maybe he's being medicated in a way that is good for
He's
him.
just got a very direct, he stares directly at you. Most people
Mm.
Blink.
don't make this
Yeah.
most people don't
Yes.
make this very direct
Yeah.
eye contact with you. Most people realize that that's kind of off-putting. It can be a little uncomfortable, especially from someone
Yeah.
who stabulated someone.
There is that. Yeah.
Sometimes
All
that
right.
Nick, he looks right into your eyes, right into your eyes. You know the thing about Nick? He's got knifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
I mean, at least he's got a lovely, thick, luscious beard. I mean, he could do beard commercials. I'm just saying, if he ever does get out, beard oil companies will be after him. I'm sure he could parlay that into a career. Say one nice, it's a compliment sandwich. You're kind of awkward with your staring. You've got an awkward, you've got a nice beard, and perhaps try to blink. Just compliment
blink.
sandwich.
Just every now and again.
I'm not going to judge.
Once a
It's
minute.
just not part of who I am. I just won't do it.
What do you want people to know about you and your story?
Oh my God, he hasn't
The
blinked
parts
yet.
of my story that would be
One.
the main parts that would matter.
No, there's
Basically,
someone blinking. What's going on? He's not
One.
blinking.
Basically,
One.
Tell them, don't be doing this stuff because you never know what it could
We have a
lead
blink
to,
counter?
And basically, be an example of a role model if I could. Because, I mean, due to all the
Two?
publicity
Three.
she's getting, and she's getting me that publicity too,
He's
I feel
Four.
like I have a responsibility. I feel like
Is that four?
I have to be somewhat
Yes.
of a role model. And
Four.
because of that, that's part of the reason why
Five.
I feel like I have something to basically owe up to, basically. I mean, I do have the restitution to pay to the society. which of
Six.
course-
Oh, that was a long one. 7, 8. He
Same
had to close
time.
them for like 10 seconds.
I want to basically let everyone know that I'm not just this cold killer.
A creepy,
that doesn't
non-blinking
have anything
Oh
psycho.
my
to do
God!
with it.
Look at the.
Okay, this
Okay.
guy needs Visine to sponsor him.
Who wouldn't
he
who
could-
wouldn't love this guy? Look at him. Look at that baby face.
Could he pick out his, cleaner white shirt? He
Oh,
knew he
yeah.
was going to have an
Yeah.
interview.
Okay,
If you can't
firstly,
afford one for
Oh,
him,
he's
it's
half
free.
Irish. He's getting plenty of vitamin D.
Oh, for God's sake.
Sorry.
Fry. I called you Fry. Sal, damn it.
okay.
Oh,
Well, he's
Lord.
acting a bit like Fry.
She's going to throw a treat at you and
Take-
tell you to go.
Take me out. Take me out.
I'm going to fling something over my shoulder.
Get outside.
Can you go take me outside to pee?
Duh.
Yeah, a blink counter, a Pam cam, so many possibilities. We need something. This dude does not blink.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, yeah. Look, bless his heart. He's off-putting. Just
Yeah.
So
Is
am
how
I,
he
but I don't
is.
have
I
a
mean-
creepy vibe.
Like I was gonna say, I know I'm weird, but like I'm not that weird. Like I know I'm a little weird
No.
though, but
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everyone's feeling a bit less weird right now.
I know it's sad, but I'm like,
even
I only
Dali.
watch this when I ever feel bad about myself.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I'm single. And this guy got laid.
Oh yeah,
Granted, he had to kind of do something for it, but still.
something.
Well,
yeah, just a little
Sal-
something.
Right? Yeah, Sal, raise your standards. You're not going to meet someone at a Cinderella movie and go to the handy, capable stall. Okay.
Damn it. Oh, I can pay
I
someone for that.
refuse to allow you as your eviler twin sister. It's just not going to happen.
All right, let's keep going.
It at least has to be a Marvel movie.
Let's sing on.
And Star Wars.
Press play.
I'm a human being.
Ew.
And as they say, human beings make mistakes. If I had to change anything at all,
I wouldn't stab you
of
That's-
later.
course, one of the obvious ones was I would have probably ran away with Gypsy. That's the obvious ones. I definitely would have done that.
Well, you would have done that.
One.
I don't want to be stained with a murder on my hands. I don't want to be stained with that.
No.
Being labeled as a killer. I don't want to be stained with that, but I'll live with it. I'll live with it. I probably
3,
would have attempted to
4.
try to get her to prolong it to a longer date, to maybe try to go a different route rather than what we did do. Or maybe trying to get her pregnant so this way your mom would be forced to let me in her life.
I would love
Well,
Jesus.
we really didn't get a chance to go to that route just
I'm sure he
because
really learned anything.
the limited time he had, because there's no way it would have been possible.
Are you able to
So,
ejaculate now, sir?
Okay, so no, for the he's like, obviously what I would things I would have done better. I would have just run away with her. Not like, no, obviously I wouldn't have killed someone. That would be no, sir.
Yeah, well,
sir.
hindsight is 2020.
He keeps
Giblets.
he keeps putting that off. If there was one thing I wouldn't have done, it would have been this first or that first. But
I'd have gotten her
forgetting about the
knocked up
unaliving.
because her mom would have had to say yes, because she'd have been in the family way. Just what? Why?
That's why. This is the thing. I can't.
This is a 15.
I have watched this about 12 times now. Right, and the reason I've watched it 12 times is because I've made a couple of TikToks out of this, right? And so you have to keep watching them over and over.
Oh yeah,
right. And so more than 12 times in some sections. And holy shit, you're so right. He's still all about her. Like, I've studied this in great detail, and he is so all about her still.
Find yourself a man who loves you as much as Nick loves Gypsy.
Yes.
for
Squad
no
goals or something.
Rapola.
Relationship goals.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, see, how's it going?
It's just like he hasn't learned a thing. Like that's the part that's actually
nothing.
like, I mean, other than I wouldn't have stabulated her, but it's like, oh, I would have did this and I would have did this for her. And I would have did this. And it's like, dude, she's not going to sleep with you again, bro.
Should I go back a minute? He even said he wouldn't have had to be apart for so long.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stained with a murder on my hands. I don't want to be stained with that. Being labeled as a killer, I don't want to be stained with that, but I'll live with it. I'll live with it. I probably would have attempted to try to get her to prolong it to a longer date, to maybe try to go a different route rather than what we did do. Or maybe trying to get pregnant this way your mom would be forced to let me in her life. Well, we really didn't get a chance to go to that route just because
I killed
the
somebody.
time he had, because there's no way.
Exactly.
So and maybe that's the only other minor change I would have made, is that I would have ran away with her earlier. So this way we wouldn't have had to suffer all this time away from each other.
That
we could have been closer together. That's probably the only two things I would have changed, really.
I mean, maybe that pee is fire.
So maybe the ladies in the panel will disagree. I don't know, but it's been my experience that women actually don't like this level of obsession. That they may date this guy and even marry this guy, but they're banging some other dude if he's a suppressed.
Sorry, I'm still just really taken by how much he likes her still. Like he's still got a thing for her. Tell me if I'm wrong, anybody.
No, if I open a closet and I see my toenail clippings and you've saved them, I am running and I'm reporting you to the FBI, and I don't even like those jackasses.
I know, right? Like, oh my God. And hi, Bronca, how's it going?
Hello.
It's going good. I might have to jump in and out, or I'm not sure how long I can stay. I'm cooking dinner tonight here in the frozen tundra of Colorado, but thanks for the invite. It's much appreciated, as always.
You're right. Are you actually snowed in?
I mean, it's not that snowy. We had a few inches of snow. It's not that bad. It's terribly cold out, so nobody wants to go out. But I did shovel the driveway.
You shoveled the driveway. Good for you. That's such a manly thing to do. I've never experienced snow before, so I've got no idea what that means to have my husband shovel the snow.
Great job.
Shovel the snow, you.
I'll send you some.
Are you sending me some snow?
We will.
No,
I am well compensated by my wife for shoveling the driveway.
Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Now what? Why is there a break?
There are different sides. Are there many sides?
When I was
yeah,
still
there are.
in Michigan.
He doesn't seem to
Something
have a
clicked.
there's sides.
It was- Ironically, it was on my very birthday. I had something click in me. And once that thing clicked, I knew that there was
My cat wants me.
something different about myself that I didn't understand. I should actually bring up another moment when I was 14 years old. And
My
that's when I
balls
first
dropped.
first glimpse of it. This is when I realized that all of the things that were building up in me were basically jeopardizing my inner happiness, my inner peace, and all the rest
Did
of
your
that.
dad have a rat tail?
Because I remember seeing one night, it was at 9 o'clock at night time. I was in my grandma's house. I just remember looking in the mirror and I saw a glimpse of something I didn't recognize in my eye. It was just a shade.
Imagine being on a
Norway.
commercial flight and
It's almost
Mr.
like
Chia
something was trying to tell me, "Oh, yeah,
the
I'm
passenger
here."
next to you.
You-
Like a transatlantic flight. You're going to be with this dude for 6 hours.
Yeah. Now, this doesn't sound good, right? This whole thing about the thing in his eye and something I don't recognize. I'm so glad that this didn't come out at the trial. However, there were similar things that were caught of him saying it. Like there was a jail call
Mhm.
where the
shadow in his eye.
shadow in his eye thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
devil and the
and
angel on his
and the
shoulders.
evil guy on one side and the good one on the other, and that came out in front of the jury. Oh, that was
Did they
bad.
do a neuropsych evaluation on him?
There
Like with
are
Well,
the
that's what we're about to
MRI?
find out. So then the next
Oh.
expert, like the
Oh,
expert
okay,
witnesses are
'cause
coming up, and we're
I
about
want
to
to-
find that out. So yeah, so we're just
Okay.
doing a little bit of
Mhm.
side sort of interviewee stuff, so we can see where he's kind of at with his brain,
I'm
and
just
then we'll see that. Then we'll see the testimony. Yes.
I'm just sad that such a full beard is wasted on such a crazy
It's
set
it's
of
a good beard.
eyeballs.
It's a good
I know it's so
mean-
thick and full, and it's just
Makes you feel
he's
better,
got that-
Mo. Mine is, and I'm not crazy.
You've created me.
Well,
Oh,
there
sorry.
you go.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
we've heard about your big beard, and we want to see it, but you won't show us. So.
Yeah, beard block.
There's very almost no light at all in there, but I saw a shadow go right past it. Just it's almost like
So he
it
saw
wanted
shadow people.
me to know that it was there, and so really, I knew there was a darker part of me, and I didn't.
Funny, Lee.
I was actually quite terrified to actually explore it. I was terrified to explore it, and now I actually regret exploring it with Gypsy. She's the one I hoped I would be brave enough to actually explore it with me, just so that's the way I understand what's inside, who that is, what that is. I wanted to know, so this way I know what I'll be dealing with. And unfortunately, that part of me wanted to come out for a very long time, and the very first opportunity it got, it didn't waste any time and basically trying to make an example out of somebody,
Well, At
unfortunately.
least I got laid.
That dark shadow part of me that really is triggered by anger. It's triggered by anger. The sweet, innocent me that I usually wake up to every day is not there. It's a completely different person.
Oh God. All right. So hang on. Just before we go on, did he? Sorry. Did he know he couldn't ejaculate? What? Jug. He told the investigator that he couldn't ejaculate. Like
Yes,
she
multiple
kept
times.
asking him. Yeah, she asked him over and over and over again. Remember, we were here for it twice. No,
She
you
wanted
want.
to
I
take a
was
ride.
looking, Young. I was looking for your previous question. Where is it? Can we get Bronca's psychological view of Gypsy's husband? Do you even know Gypsy's new husband? Because she's only got one
I've
husband.
only seen a photograph. So have
Yeah.
you said, gentlemen?
Seen a photo of him
That's all I
next to
know.
her mother.
Oh yeah, have you seen the thing about how he looks like the mother?
Oh,
Really
no.
looks like the
Giblets,
mother.
does
He
she?
really
Or
looks
does
like
he?
the mother.
Like
Is that what you're
probably
asking?
related to her mother.
We can
Oh
show you
God,
after.
does he?
Oh,
There are
God,
rumors.
Oh, yeah.
so
We know
bad.
that.
You might only have once in a
Dali, could you
lifetime.
please look up the comparison?
Basically,
I'll
it
try.
was an angel and
I
a
had
devil.
it somewhere.
I actually had two different ones speaking to me. They both said one thing and left the decision up to me. First, the angel spoke, which I wish I would have listened, because it's really weird, because that only reassured me that my original idea of what we should do would have been the right thing to do. It's really weird that it reassured me on that. But it actually said, its very actual words was, take her and run. This is very words. We had the other part of me, and that time devil. What it ended up telling me was, this bitch is dead. That's all it said. This bitch is dead. Basically, once I heard that, somebody.
It seems like this guy could have been the pilot for Malaysia 370.
Emotionally enraged, but it did. Inflamed emotional rage. So I ended up whispering to Gypsy, get in the bathroom. I just want to get this over with.
Yeah, don't get on that
Oh,
plane.
it's a documentary.
I'm not a funder. And I guess that's the reason why the darker part of me was more, I guess you could say, not manipulative, but more able to persuade me into saying,
You wouldn't even call it manipulative.
I sent it to you in Discord.
Right. That's very
I got it.
interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Go on. No, that's not it.
No?
No. There's one where they're right next to each other with the glasses and everything. Hang on. I'll find it. We'll go back to court first.
Yeah.
Does he have a boob job too?
Trying to mean your client, but also according to the law.
All right. Why are we there? Let's go. And,
The issue of notes. That evidence.
Oh my God, everyone's so well fed.
Purposes as you're seeking
Well,
to-
it is Merca.
But the concurring opinion also states that the alternative manner, that would be Rule 45, contains no such restrictions. Applying that finding, which I agree with, Rule 25 does not limit what can be used or not used. And finding that the examination of your client was conducted under the auspices of Rule 25.
what's Rule
As
25?
evidenced by the state motion, I'm going to deny
I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
to give the jury.
It might be a
the
local state thing.
instruction
Yeah.
requested. I'll show that to you.
Now a continuing objection on that one issue.
Yes, sir.
With regard to Dr. Frank's testimony and the possibility of Dr. Dean's.
So they're talking
Yes, sir.
about
That's how I was
the expert
interpreting it.
witness.
And we can make a record once we get to the final instruction conference regarding that as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Pash, I wasn't trying to cut you off, but knowing how I was going to, do you wish to supplement?
No, I can make the recommendation that we have the instruction conference.
All right. That, my ruling is, and again, is because this was consented to under Rule 25, that the restrictions contained in Section 552 are not applicable, and therefore the instruction itself, keeping purposes. Please, you can thank you. Mr. Perry, do you have another witness?
Yes, Judge. So this all, Dr. Kent Frank.
Okay. We don't
Dr. Frank, come
know.
on.
All we know is definitely can't happen.
Have a seat, okay?
We found out 8
Then I'll
times.
swear you in which is stipulated. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the cause now.
Put your fingers together. What's wrong with you?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so you got. I do. Thank you. There's not a lot of
creepy.
room there. If you want to set things there, that's fine too. Thank you. Cover Jesus.
It's a bit like lackluster, isn't it?
That's very gleeful.
Yeah.
Please tell us your name.
Kent Wesley Franks.
I thought I was going to say
And can you tell us
ejaculate.
how you're employed?
I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm in private practice.
And how long have you been a clinical psychologist?
Obtained my PhD in 1987.
So
What is a clinical psychologist?
Clinical psychology is the study of behavior.
And how does one become a clinical psychologist?
Well, it entails an undergraduate degree, mine is in psychology, master's degree, and then a PhD in psychology. And then if you practice, you have to get a license.
Where did you get your undergraduate degree from?
I went to Missouri State University here in town.
And you say you have a master's degree?
I do.
From where?
California School of Professional Psychology.
And then your
You're willing to
PhD?
say that
From
on
the
the
same
road.
school,
And when did you get your PhD?
1987.
Now, what type of clinical psychology do you practice? Do you have a specific type?
I've always been a forensic psychologist.
Okay. And how does that differ from
Into it, London.
anything else? I mean, what is a
I'm
clinical
actually going to do a
psychologist?
stream on that.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted for this young one. What is a forensic psychologist? I apologize.
Well, it's where psychology intersects with the law, where behavior intersects with the law.
And as a forensic psychologist, what kinds of evaluations would you be doing?
Mostly over the years, I've done competency to stand trial evaluations, determine whether or not
Wasn't done.
someone
It wasn't
is
done.
legally insane at the time of committing a crime. Risk assessment evaluations to determine whether or not someone can be safely and effectively managed in the community, what level of structure they will require. And a lot of sex offender evaluations to determine their risk of
I want to
reoffense
see
and
that judge like
diagnosis.
float up to the ceiling.
You have any idea?
Like a
I
balloon.
need to turn you up a little bit.
It's the court is really loud compared to everybody. I can't hear
Oh, is
anybody
it? Okay,
talking.
I'll turn.
Yeah.
I'll turn it down a bit.
Generally, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's usually the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of these evaluations you
Okay.
conducted in
Everyone
field of
talk at me.
psychology?
Hey,
About
Hello.
2,000
Test,
in
test.
the last 30 years.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Seems better.
Any idea how many of those were for the state of
It
Missouri?
must be that awesome audio
I
person.
moved to Missouri from
Or,
California in 2004.
whoever he is, that
And
person.
I've done sexual
Makes it-
predator evaluations for the Attorney General's office.
I don't know. I heard he was.
I
an athlete.
probably done about 50 of those evaluations for the Missouri Attorney General and a few evaluations
Is that a
for
bit
the United States Attorney
Yeah.
on aggravated sex offender cases.
And how many do you think you've done for the criminal defense bar?
oh God, he's a mouth breather.
Do you have any idea?
The rest of them. So,
Well,
Math. Psychologists can't do math. That's why they went to
somewhere
psychology.
in the neighborhood of 1,000 evaluations for defense attorneys.
Can you tell us what a CV is? What's a CV?
Curriculum vitae.
And I'm going to show you in one moment. So we'll get marked. But I'm going to mark as Defense Exhibit A.
Come on, if
Really
you saw
looks
this
nerve-
dude talking to your
you
kid in the
recognize-
shopping mall, you'd knock him on his ass.
This
It just
document.
looks creepy.
It's a
Right?
multi-page document.
Yes.
It's like he's got a
Yeah.
big
So
pocket.
nervous.
If I saw- yeah,
I'd be
he
like,
looks
dude,
like he has
this
a
is my
white van
curriculum
with
vitae.
paneling and a few puppies on the side.
Document.
It's
It's like it's
fine.
got a white van. It says
And
free candy on one
what
side,
all is-
free kids
is
on the other
listed in
side.
that
And
document in terms of
which
your
way you're
experience
driving.
and training and whatnot.
And knowing my son,
Well,
he'd be
it
like,
goes
"You
through
have
my
candy and puppies?
education
I
and my
have 6
occupational
brothers and
history.
sisters."
And my presentations and publications.
Yes, I would ask it.
So you're saying your son would be seeing an arbitrage possibility here? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he'd be like, "How many puppies do you have? I have
Now, have
siblings."
you ever testified?
I got
in a
extras.
criminal case before?
Extra kids.
Yeah.
Extras.
How many times do you testify in a criminal case?
Wait, I think I saw this
about
guy on To Catch
120.
Predator.
I feel like Chris
And in
Hansen's
those
gonna walk
120
in.
cases where you already declared an expert,
He's taking
Always
the
was.
seat, right? You can take a seat right there.
every time you
I am
testify in a
Chris
criminal case,
Hansen.
it was as an expert.
Why do you have the Subway sandwich?
After I got licensed, I testified once as an intern because I was working in a forensic facility and I was not qualified then, but it was only because I wasn't licensed.
Oh,
After I
God.
became licensed,
Can we
I
get
was
through
qualified.
the chitty chat
Judge,
about
I
why
would
you're an
ask
expert?
to-
You're going to get accepted as an expert. Let's go. I know this has to happen, but
On the issue of
As a forensic psychologist, I could actually lay more foundation if you want me to.
distraction.
do you need, does he need to lay more, lay more foundation? Does he?
I don't think it's proper for the court to declare anyone
And you know, this guy would be inept at it, right? He would actually have candy that kids don't like old people's candy, like mint,
Yeah.
butterscotch.
Where
Something.
there's originals,
Exactly.
those strawberry things that grandma has, and you're
Would
like,
you like some
"Oh,
bit of
look at
honey?"
Are you familiar
this."
with autism?
He had the strawberry
Hey,
thing
I
for
like
the
bit of
whole
honeys.
ticket in his van for their
It's a
strawberry.
neurological
you have
disorder.
to go,
It's
Mo?
considered brain-based.
Yes,
and
I
it's
do.
characterized by two different
Have to
things.
go.
The first
Callous,
is
thank you for being here,
impairment
love.
in
Thanks,
social
Thank you.
Mo.
I'll see you
abilities.
guys.
The
If you guys are
ability
still
to
going
read
after Newsy
social
News, I will
cues,
be back.
to understand
Bye, guys.
nonverbal
yes.
cues,
Have fun
Thanks
with
for
and to
having
pick
me.
up on the appropriate emotional responses of other people. Folks with autism suffer from severe deficits in their social behavior. And then the
Now
second
we get to the
prong
next one.
is repetitive stereotype movements. They tend to collect things. They have
Sorry, want me to
an
rewind?
insistence
They take the
on
oath like
sameness.
this.
They don't like changes in their routine.
I mean, he could at least done the Spock thing, right? That would.
It'd make more sense, yeah.
We would ask that judge.
I just did. Start again from that bit.
Testify on the area of forensic psychology.
Are you familiar with autism?
Yes,
Tell us what autism is.
I have it.
it's a neurological
Arkham is
disorder.
an insane
It's considered
asylum from the
brain-based,
Batman movies.
and it's
Oh,
characterized
wait.
by two different things. The first is impairment in social abilities, the ability to read social cues, to understand nonverbal cues, and to pick up on the appropriate emotional responses of other people. Folks with autism suffer from severe deficits in their social behavior. And then the second prong is repetitive stereotype movements. They tend to collect things. They have an insistence upon sameness. They don't like changes in their routine. Everything needs to be exactly the same. And there will be large collections, and it could be anything. It could be rocks, it could be action figures, it could be data and information. But those are the two primary characteristics.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Are you familiar with the DSM?
Yes.
What is the DSM?
Yep. So he's testifying to the main symptoms of Asperger's syndrome.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It doesn't. I don't know how that applies to Nick.
Doesn't he not have Asperger's syndrome?
I mean, they said that, but like, as far as I know, like there's never been a mention that I'm aware of that he collected anything, or, I mean, the social cues clearly, but like
social cues for sure, yeah.
That's why I'm like, why is he explaining something that's not applicable unless it's going to come up?
Well, he's not properly prepared. He wasn't
Yeah.
properly prepared by the defense. That's why. So he's speaking like an academic, generally, not specific to this case.
This is
if you do the job right as a defense attorney, you've grilled your expert witness to focus in exclusively on the things that are relevant to the case, which takes a lot of work. Takes hours and hours and hours to do that.
I don't know. Maybe he collects Beanie Babies or something.
No, that makes a lot of sense, Andrew. That
Well,
makes
it's
a lot
possible he does collect something, but if he does collect something, that the attorney should know that he collects something and be bringing it up at some point.
Yeah, the easy way to deal with an expert witness is you just call them and you let them talk, and that's very ineffective for generally because the academics just start talking. They love to talk. That's why now they're in a position of authority, right? The jury's trapped, the courtroom's trapped. They just get to talk. Imagine this guy on a date. I mean, that's what this is like for him, right? And so what you want to do to have that expert be effective for your defense is have them talk about nothing except the very specific narrow issues that are relevant to your defense narrative.
Keep him on track.
That makes much more sense to me.
It's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's updated every few years, and it lists the criteria for the various mental disorders. And that's the book that we use to make diagnoses.
What is the current volume of the DSM?
5.
And in the DSM-5 is autism listed as one of the diagnoses.
It is. It's called autism spectrum disorder.
And how does autism and autism spectrum disorder differ? Or does it?
Autism spectrum disorder is the official name as it's listed in the DSM-5. Autism is more of the term that has been used over the years. The diagnosis was updated in the most recent DSM, and it was changed to autism spectrum disorder. And that's just simply what we call it now.
Are there more than one on the autism spectrum disorder? Is there more than one autism spectrum disorder?
That is the main diagnosis. There are other developmental disorders, but there's only one autism spectrum disorder. But it's considered a range. That's why they call it a spectrum. So there's cases that vary in severity, level 1, level 2, and level 3.
That's where I was getting at, the level 3. Can you describe the 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3? Starting with the most severe.
Right. Level 1 is somebody that can function adequately with support. They need structure. They need someone to help them make decisions, adapt to social situations, and provide guidance for them.
You're right,
But
so
they can
he
function
literally
out in the
knows.
world. Sometimes they can get jobs. Sometimes they can participate in
Also,
higher
inadequate
education
preparation, by the
classes.
way. It's normal
Yeah.
for people
A
to be
lot of
nervous
times
on
they
the
can have
witness
a
stand, but
family
you should have
and
been
have a
prepared
life, an
past that.
independent life, and function
Yeah.
independently as long as they're
You're
getting
right.
help.
He's
Level 2 is
struggling.
somebody that continues to demonstrate impairment.
It makes a huge difference
Even
too. Jurors
though
don't like it,
they're in a
especially when it's an
structured
expert. They
situation,
want the
even though they're
expert to
getting
have
help
to
and
be
someone
in
is
control of his faculties and be
Yeah.
presenting in a very authoritative adult
Yeah.
kind of way. So they don't like it when the
Yeah.
expert looks nervous. They're like, well, he doesn't even believe what he's saying.
No, exactly. Like, this is an authority figure.
Right. You don't want a
they're-
nervous pilot or doctor or
No.
oncologist, right?
Yeah, it's like, hang on, here's the knife. Yeah, exactly. They're the one that you're going to hopefully just believe. And whilst the jury instruction is that you can choose to give weight to that that expert, but you don't need to give them extra weight.
Right. It just sucks the credibility out of the witness.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
They're the witness that's allowed to opine, but
Right.
Yeah.
just
Look at
because
this
they're
guy.
allowed to opine doesn't mean you have to believe them. So
Put
what'd you
this guy
say?
up next to Dr. Mommy. Like, who seems more believable? Dr. Mommy or this guy?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Mummy is more self-confident. Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, she made a lot of people believe that the DSM-5 is a thing. Sorry.
He's just very confident, and like he's just not coming
Yes.
across that way. He just seems very, I don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whereas another clinical psychologist could absolutely, just with that much confidence, get up and make you believe the DSM-5 is a load of BS. So
Right. So this guy does not cold approach a lot of women without getting arrested.
Without getting arrested.
Looking after their needs, their activities of daily living, helping them with grooming, cooking,
Maybe they don't cold
laundry,
approach
and
him
all of
either.
those things. And despite that level of structure and help, they're still having impairment. And then level 3 is the most profound level of disorder, and that would be somebody who's characterized with severe deficits in their ability to take care of themselves, communicate, solve problems, and basically function in any meaningful way.
Do you have any experience with people with autism?
I do.
Tell us about your experience with people with autism.
Let me stick my finger
It
in my
wasn't
ear.
added into the DSM until 1994.
Oh,
And so it's
yes.
the disorder has
really.
been known since the 1940s. But as research has accumulated, it's become much more
Profitable.
clinicians are looking for it more than we used to because there's a lot more that's known about it. And so in the work that I do in evaluating people for the courts, I've learned how to administer the tests. I've learned how to identify it, and I've gone to training so that to increase my knowledge about the disorder over the last 10 years.
He can't even
What
center
cha-
his
what
tie.
challenges would children with
Come on,
autism
dude.
typically have?
It's probably a
Look
clip on
around.
too.
The most profound challenge is going to be interpersonal. They're going to have difficulty with making friends. They're going to have a hard time and generally be unable to establish a social niche. They're going to be the kids that don't fit in, that live on the fringes. They're oftentimes bullied. Their
Good
peers think they're
question.
weird.
So,
In a
and
van down
they
by the
just never
river.
really fit in. And so they're solitary and they play by themselves. They tend to be drawn towards the television, video.
Braga, would you like to explain how the pool of experts kind of work? Is there such a thing?
It's really, I mean, it's kind of loosey goosey. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
We make up these supposed rules about qualifying people as an expert, and we
Hmm.
focus on things like publications and has the science they're testifying about been affirmed in any kind of way? Have they been an expert before, qualified as an expert before, and so forth? But I can tell, I've been involved in cases where just bystanders were qualified as experts. With no particular academic credentials, and appropriately so, because the example I'm thinking of is it was a car accident case. It was a personal liability case, and a big issue in the case was how fast was the car going? What was the speed of the car? And these guys were just witnessing, two dudes, and they just saw the car, and they got called in to testify and said that car was going 75 miles an hour, just from their visual.
How would they know?
Observation of the car. Like, how would you know that? And the defense wanted to present them as experts. And it turns out these guys, every weekend, they spent their time at a racetrack and bet each other on how fast the cars were going. And then you can look at the billboard, which has a radar gun, which confirms whether or not your guess was right. And so these guys had developed expertise in how fast they were observing cars going.
Wow. What? Okay.
I don't think either of them ever graduated high school, but they were good at telling how fast a car was going.
Well,
at least the judge was convinced.
Yeah. Everybody's got to be good at something.
Yeah, well, now they're set for life. They can get a job doing that if someone would hire them to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only time they ever testified.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I've been qualified as an expert. I've testified as an expert.
Yeah, you are an expert.
And it was funny. I think, in fact, the last time it happened, I was for a defense counsel, of course, and the defense spent like an hour qualifying me as an expert, and then the prosecution just got up and said, "Your Honor, he's obviously an expert."
Hey, can we just stop now? Can we move on,
right?
Please.
Was that the Colorado one?
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Maybe animals, they get along better with things than they do with people. And so as a result of that, usually they're by themselves and their social experiences are really negative. And so that reinforces the isolation. They get to be afraid to be around people because they'll get picked on and they're bullied and embarrassed.
He's speaking from personal experience. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Well, they have many of the same challenges because when you get into high school, peer pressure is obviously very important. And so it's hard for them to
Is it important to give in or important to
sometimes they'll associate with the kids that play video games, the gamers, and they'll be able to make some friends in that context. But essentially, they're going to be regarded as unusual, different. And a lot of times they're going to be shunned by their peer group. And so that creates a host of problems with regard to self-esteem.
Oh, Haley, have you noticed
the way that you feel about yourself and your confidence?
the shoulder
You tend
pads,
to
Haley?
withdraw and avoid social situations.
Oh, this guy looks like he's about to
What
cry.
challenges would adults in general face who are on the autism spectrum disorder?
Well, the research has shown that when kids get out of high school,
They
they
bullied
lose that
me.
structure. So usually these are people who are involved in special classes, behavioral classes, special education, and there's folks that are working with them and trying to help them do their schoolwork and provide structure. When they get out of high school, they lose that. And so depending upon their socioeconomic status and their cognitive abilities, a lot of times their functioning declines when they get out of high school because they don't have the help that they were having before. It depends a lot on their cognitive abilities. If they don't have a cognitive disability and their intelligence is at least average or low average, the outcomes are oftentimes better. It also depends on family support and if they have somebody that's trying to help them. If they don't, the outcomes are often negative. They have difficulty finding employment, establishing families, and oftentimes I think sort of exist on the fringes.
How could one on the autism spectrum disorder, how could it affect their decision making?
Decision making is really hard. These are folks that it's a neurological disorder, and so their ability to adapt.
I think
and solve
he's
problems
getting
and think on
better,
their feet
John.
is impaired
At the
by
beginning,
definition.
he
And so
was
that's
stumbling
why
on his
they
words a lot
like
more.
routine. They like sameness.
He's more
They like
and
the
he was
He's more
talking.
confident. Understand that. If they
Yeah,
venture
he's
outside
getting
of
he's
their
getting in his
safety
groove
zone,
now.
they have a lot of problems, especially a stimulating, complex social environment. They're not going to do well in that situation at all.
Now he's getting into the groove of answering
What
questions.
impairments could they face in behavior?
Also, like beforehand, he was just talking about himself and qualifying himself.
Yeah.
It could be
I
a
could see
range
that
of
being-
impairment depending upon the
It's
severity
hard for
of
me to
his-
talk about
his-
myself. So
At the mild
Yeah.
end, it would just
seriously.
be difficulty connecting with people,
See,
loneliness,
I think he's
isolation,
gotten more into it now.
depression, anxiety,
Oh, he's still boring.
problems that are associated
Yeah,
with
that's no
trying to connect
question.
with other people.
Oh yeah.
At the more
He's not the
severe
most
end of
exciting
spectrum,
person.
They could put themselves into dangerous situations. There was a lack of
Yes.
Oh,
police
Dali,
force.
did you find
unless
the
someone
oh,
is
you
looking
did.
out
You
for
found
them,
that. Cool.
I did.
Yeah, when
venture
Bradley
into
comes
all
back,
kinds of
we're going to show him
situations
the
that
stare
ultimately
down
could be
moment.
dangerous or harmful for them.
We've heard some
You know,
discussion
the
of
moment.
Asperger's syndrome. Tell us what that is.
Dali,
Asperger's was named after the person, Dr. Asperger,
Stare me
who
down.
originally identified the
stare me
disorder.
down.
And it's considered the mild form of autism. It's considered a higher functioning form of autism. With Asperger's, you don't have a cognitive impairment. Their intelligence is either in the average or low average range. But there's still the social impairment. There's the difficulty connecting with people and understanding emotional give and take. And they also have the insistence on sameness and routine and the collecting behaviors. They just don't have the cognitive disability.
That's how I hit on EU when we go to a bar.
Anymore?
It was removed
Yeah,
because
it hasn't
autism
worked
is
yet.
considered a spectrum disorder. And so level 1 on the autism spectrum disorder would probably be consistent with what used to be known as Asperger's disorder.
Do you know somebody by the name of Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes,
How do you know Mr. Godejohn?
I evaluated him.
Oh, okay.
And when did
Here we
you,
go.
meet with
This
him?
is
I
his
saw him the
evaluation.
first
Let's
time
go.
for 7 hours at the Greene County Detention Facility on December 29.
Oh, is it going to be video?
2015. Then I saw him the second time on July 29, 2016.
And how many hours did you meet with him at?
4 hours.
Oh, you spent 4 hours with him.
And is that unusual to meet with somebody for that long, given the kind of
Victor
evaluation
might
you're
have
doing?
come out in
No,
that
it's
time.
not unusual. I also interviewed his dad for an hour.
Did
on
he
the telephone.
ejaculate?
Is that something you typically do in an evaluation? Have you
No.
a family member?
It's not unusual.
Why did you do it?
How
in
many
this case?
times did he almost
There's
ejaculate?
a relatives questionnaire for the autism spectrum disorder where it's a rating scale, and I wanted to administer that to his father, and so we did that over the telephone. And I also wanted to get additional background
Yeah,
information from his
let's
father.
go.
When you do an evaluation, is it just an interview or is there other aspects of the evaluation?
Well, for
Yes.
me, I always begin with a fairly lengthy
It's
biographical
at zero. That's the problem.
history. And then once that's completed, depending upon the case, I follow up with
We
psychological
need to
testing.
know.
Why do you
Oh, there's
divide
definitely going to be
information?
some testimony about the
Why is
ejaculating.
that important?
Well, the history is what determines who we are. Our childhood is extremely important in our psychological development. And so if you understand the
I bet
nature
we're
of a
gonna
person's
find out.
childhood, you
Well,
know
we
a lot
will. I'm
about
sure we'll
why they
find
are who
out.
they are as an adult. And
Not in
then
my experience.
it's important to gather as much information as you can to arrive at the correct
Oh, you have
diagnosis
experience with
and
not
the
being able to
correct
ejaculate?
conceptualization of the case. So you gather as much information as you can
The
from as many
former.
sources as you can, in the hopes of developing an accurate evaluation.
Now, what kind of testing did you conduct during your evaluation of Mr. Godejohn?
I gave him an
Awkward.
IQ test, the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, 4th edition, the current one that's being used in the field. I administered the wide range achievement test to evaluate his reading, spelling, and arithmetic.
Oh, here we
abilities.
go.
I used
Now,
two
this is going
personality
to end
tests,
up being a little bit
Actually, I
like the
used three.
Rhodes testimony.
The Rorschach Inkblot test,
Remember?
the MMPI, which stands for Multiphasic Personality Inventory. And then
So,
I used an old
in
test
my day, we
called
used
the
to call
Thematic
them
Perception Test.
retard.
Because it's portrays interpersonal situations. And sometimes it's used in people with autism spectrum disorders to help you evaluate their understanding of people and social situations. So,
Thanks, hold on, I'm saying about you. Can you slow it down just a tad?
yes, sir.
I'm trying to keep up, and I know some of you're using terms that may not be familiar with folks.
Understood.
Thank you.
Basically, what I wanted to say is it's an old test. I don't always use it, but sometimes it's helpful with autism spectrum disorder.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
you
So
show them
it's an
pictures of social
actual
situations and ask them to make up a story
test.
that goes with it. And you can get an idea of how they
If anyone
conceptualize
young, you
social
would know
situations
how
from
the
what
test
they come up with.
works.
Now,
If you want to add any
context
context
Mr. Godejohn, is that
to
correct?
this in
I
chat,
did. I
that
took
would
his
be
history.
Can
amazing.
you tell us a little bit about his birth? Is there anything notable as a psychologist about his birth, or what you know about it?
His father reported to me that there was some indication his mother might have drank during the pregnancy, and there might have been some drug use. He knew about one
I don't
occasion
really
for
know
each.
how to run
The birth
bingo.
was complicated. She was in labor, I think, for
John would
13
have
hours,
to help
and the umbilical
with that.
cord was
I
wrapped
don't.
around his neck.
John knows how to run
And they
bingo.
used a suction cup
I
to
don't really know
deliver
how to run
him. And the doctors told his father that his brain may have been deprived of oxygen for a period of time during the delivery because of the umbilical cord.
What?
And what,
I missed that bit.
when was he born?
Doctors told labor, I think some indication his mother might have drank during the pregnancy,
Oh.
and there might have been some.
Oh no!
He knew about one occasion for each. The birth was
Like
complicated. She was in
90% of
labor
humans have
for
not been
13
born to
hours,
mothers who are
and the
drinking.
umbilical cord was wrapped around his
That's
neck,
true.
and they used a suction cup to deliver him. And the doctors told his father that his brain may have been deprived of oxygen for a period of time during the delivery because of the umbilical cord.
And what, when was he born?
His birthday is May 20, 1989.
Wow, he's so
Did you
young.
find anything about his family life
I did.
as he was growing up? Tell us about that.
His
He's
mom and
so-
dad were married.
he's younger
They
than
split
you,
up when
Dali.
He was about 4 years old.
Yeah.
It was not a happy marriage. They did not get along very well. He stayed with his mother following the separation. She worked and was not very attentive to him. And so he spent a lot of time by himself. In addition to having autism spectrum disorder, he was actually physically alone for much of his childhood. And she wasn't very attentive to him, and it didn't sound like they had a very close bond. He spent some time with his father, but his mother was the custodial parent. And there were several incidents.
I object unless this is somehow you get his diagnosis. Will this help us to lead to your diagnosis too?
I believe it will.
I don't think that's a fair objection.
Yes, Veronica?
Yes.
No, sorry. My daughters were staring
worries.
into my office.
Oh.
And, sorry.
You're right.
No worries.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't think that's a fair objection. He was giving a background as to how he grew up and who his brothers and where
It's
he
becoming
sat in
too
with the brothers
sympathetic.
and sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming.
Yeah,
too
of course,
sympathetic. That's why
it's
he's
becoming too
objecting, right?
sympathetic. Of course, yeah, all right. I get the strategy of objecting, but I don't think it's a sustainable objection. Personally, it's just me.
There was an incident where she worked as a waitress and brought home some old food, and he ate it and became really sick. And there was some evidence to suggest that she didn't take care of his medical needs the way that she should have. And then ultimately, he went to live with his father when he was a teenager, and came back to live with his mother when he was about 16 or 17 years old. And I think the situation was improved by that time.
What kind of educational level did he acquire?
He graduated from high school, but he was a lifelong special education student. The autism was diagnosed when he was in the second grade. And so he was in very structured classes as a result of that.
Really?
And then when he was about 13 years old, they changed the diagnosis to Asperger's. But he continued to be in special education classes throughout high school.
What about his work history?
Interesting.
He's only had one job. He was a Social Security recipient in school by virtue of the autism. And then he worked at a pizza parlor, and he was the person that stood outside with a sign. And he did that for 13 months. They tried to have him work in a kitchen. At least that's what he told me. And he was unsuccessful. He dropped the pizza. So he only worked part-time holding a sign outside the store. And then ultimately had an interpersonal conflict with someone inside the restaurant. And afterwards, he applied for Social Security and it was granted.
How long's
It was for
another
1 year.
Did he have to-
And so he's been on
Did
disability.
he have to
since that
stand in
time.
one of those inflatable
I mean, where he
costumes?
work skills and possessions?
No, he doesn't have
Yes,
any work skills.
probably.
What about his relationship history? Romantic relationship history?
His father told me he had one girlfriend. He had basically one friend who suffered from an intellectual disability. And he had a sister. His sister was younger and she suffered from autism. And Nick formed a relationship with her, and that was his girlfriend for a period of
Okay,
months.
so
And they
he had
sexual
a
relationship.
girlfriend.
He told me that he also had a girlfriend when he was younger. His father did not confirm that. So his relationship history is extremely limited.
She was
That
from
really the
Canada.
only confirmed romantic relationship he had was with another person who had autism.
Okay,
Hey,
hang
can
on
we
a minute.
pause
That's
for
being a
just a
bit
second?
mean. Yeah.
Can we pause for just a second? And just a hypothetical question, but
Yeah.
does anybody believe that if this had been a mentally sound male who co-opted a mentally unsound female into killing someone, that the male wouldn't be held accountable
Oh yeah, 100%.
to a
agree.
greater extent? That we wouldn't be saying, well, you can't hold the girl accountable. I mean, she's not fit. She's not mentally sound, right?
Yeah.
It's the person who used her as a tool that should be getting life in prison. But because here
Yes.
it's the person who did the manipulation is a woman, and the guy who the person who got manipulated is a dude, that the dude gets life in prison, and we basically wave away the woman's offense.
Yeah. I can't help but see the injustice of it. Especially if she were mentally challenged like this as well. Like if this was, as you say, the other way
You
around.
had the same interviews with her that we just saw a moment ago, right? With the bad beard, right?
Yeah.
She was being interviewed that same way. We were observing those interviews with her, and everyone would look at that and say, well, she's jacked up. I mean, she's not of a normal mental state. Of course she was subject to manipulation. And the responsibility, at least the heavier weight of the responsibility, should be on the person who manipulated her.
Mm. Yes, Lonizzi. Okay, so here I go again, feeling bad for this man. So everyone's saying how Gypsy was mentally stunted and it wasn't her fault, so she didn't know any better. So why don't they say the same energy for Nicholas?
Yep.
Yep. Yes.
She's clearly, now I understand terrible things were done to her, to this woman by her mother and so forth, but we see her interviewed and she's far more mentally competent than this poor dude.
Yes. She is extremely, she's far smarter than people give her any credit for. She really has things worked out. And this guy that she's with right now, he is so whipped. He is so whipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to watch himself because he looks like the mum, and he not only looks like the mum, but he could end up with the same fate as the mum, I feel.
And I'm not saying the guy who did the killing they're talking about should not be held criminally accountable, but how could he be held more criminally accountable than the mentally sound woman who coerced him into committing the act?
Interestingly, and I don't know whether you were watching the interview we had on with him earlier before you got on panel, but he says, I'm happy to pay my price. Like I understand I need to repay my debt to society, and that's what I'm doing. He didn't say it in quite those words, but that he did say that. He's fine to be in prison, but he sees it as being a bit lopsided. I think he went like that as to what the price that is being paid.
And listen, depending on the prison circumstances, I don't know. I mean, this may be the best place for him. I mean, he can't live in the real world. He's not capable of taking care for himself. At least in America, we don't have a good social structure to take care of these kinds of people. They often end up on the street, homeless, addicted to drugs, terrible diseases, dying young. So the best environment for him would seem to be some kind of institutionalized environment. Now, I mean, some prisons are really bad, and you wouldn't wish anyone there, but they're not all that bad. And if he's in some kind of minimum security prison where he's getting taken care of, that may be the best he could ever have expected out of life. Actually,
especially now,
but it is murder, so that's probably not where he's at.
Yeah, exactly.
No. All right, I got to step away again.
Evaluation. What records did you review?
I reviewed some school records. I reviewed his Social Security records from when he was in high school and when he was making his application to Social Security. And then they have to do yearly updates on the Social Security to maintain eligibility, and I reviewed those. And there was a disability report by Dr. Goldstein in 2010. And then, of course, I reviewed his high school records, and I reviewed the police reports and the videotapes associated with this case.
Did you speak with anybody in addition to his father and Mr. Godejohn as part of this evaluation?
No, not that I can recall.
Now, you indicated you met with him twice. Was there anything notable about his appearance when you met with him in your interviews?
His grooming hygiene has always been poor. That's something that was apparent in the school records. He's always needed reminders to shower, brush his hair, and brush his teeth. And that was evident when I saw him. He has a tendency to let his beard grow out in an untrimmed manner. Sometimes let his hair grow out in an untrimmed manner. So there were deficits in his grooming and hygiene consistent with his history.
Why is that important to you as a psychologist?
It shows a lack of self-care, a lack of self-management. I think it's characteristic of this
disorder. That's not going to make the jury like him.
Did it change between your two interviews?
Not really. He had cut his hair the time I saw him and gained a little bit of weight when I saw him the second time. But it was still evident.
Okay, so he stinks.
Yes.
Great.
What you,
So the jury saw
what you
him
mean by
giving
you saying
death
mood.
stares
What do you know about
to
his mood and what is
the
that?
poor
He was
gypsy,
sad.
and then they find out
Both
he
of the times
stinks.
that I've seen him, it's difficult
That's
to
just
somebody
great.
that has autism. It's hard to assess their mood. They're not very communicative.
Yeah,
That's
objection.
part of the disorders. They don't connect with people and they don't describe themselves
But
very well.
he's on.
And so it's
He's not
getting
even
a
on
window
cross.
into what his internal world is like. It's
Yeah.
hard. And so
The
as a
Yeah,
defense
test
I
to
know.
determine,
That's the
it's
thing
kind of
that's
sad,
I know.
but his emotions are
But for that to come
kind of
out in
flat.
front of the jury,
He
I
doesn't
feel
show
it's
a
just
lot
not
of
going to
emotion.
make
He's
them
not very
like him
reactive in that
more.
way.
Now, you've also had an opportunity to view a video of a police interview, is that correct?
So I don't feel
Did you
that
notice
that's
anything
it's
about
not
him in the
against
police interview?
him. I'm
aside from
I'm
what he
not
said?
having a
His
go at him about it,
appearance,
and I
mood?
completely
He
understand.
was under a lot of stress at
I
that
have
point. I noticed he talked
It's
to
the
himself a
defense
lot.
who's asking the
They,
question,
were
who's
not in a
supposed to
room
make
with
him
him.
look as good as they
And he
can.
was left by himself. He talked to himself.
Yeah,
And I thought that
exactly.
was
I
sort of
want them
unusual.
to.
And then I didn't think his eye
I
contact was
want
very
him
good with the
to look
officers.
as good as
It wasn't very
possible in
good when
front
he
of the
was with
jury.
me.
I want them
And
to feel
that's
for him.
characteristic of autism spectrum disorder.
And
What is cognition?
sorry, I should
It
pause it.
basically refers to the
I should let you know I have or I had a sibling who was extremely disabled, very, very disabled, couldn't look after herself. And so I'm aware very much about the inability for people to self-care. And so as far as I'm concerned, no dissing of him whatsoever in regard to that. Absolutely. But what I'm trying to say is, and what bothers me about him being an expert witness for the defense and him coming out and saying those things, and it's true. However, it doesn't paint him in a light that is that the jury is like going to warm to him more. I would like the jury to warm to him more. If I was the defense counsel and I was picking this expert to give testimony, I would prefer that they were to focus on things about his situation that are going to make him more of someone that they are going to feel sorry for in terms of having this disadvantage. And he does have a disadvantage. I know it's the truth that he doesn't have the best ability to look after himself. But is it that relevant that they need to bring it up? I don't know. It's like saying he's a dirty bum or something. Yeah, and people don't get it. Some people don't get it. I get it, but a lot of people don't get it, I think. I don't know. So the ooze is about, it might be a bad idea not to go into these details. That's what I mean. Yeah,
exactly.
that it's ooh to go into those details.
I think
Not that he's ooh, that it's ooh. Yeah.
I think it goes back to what
just being
Parker
clear.
said, though, is like it seems like he's not well prepared. Like it just seems
Yeah,
like he's not well
exactly.
prepared
And
at
again,
all.
it's a sign of not being well prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it depends on how it goes. I mean, this is right, the responsibility of the defense.
Yes.
But you can angle this either way, right? Either he's a dirty bum on the street, anyone you'd want to avoid. Nobody likes those people. They're always asking you for money. Or he's so incapable, he can't even remember to shower.
Yeah.
Right? This is how
exactly.
much this guy needs help. This is how much he would be manipulable.
He does.
But
exactly.
it's up to the defense to cast those facts in the appropriate light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anonymous with intelligence.
What about reasoning? Is that?
That's a related term. Reasoning is the ability to think
That's
through
true,
a
Anna,
problem. To come to a situation, there's a problem that needs to be solved, and your reasoning ability reflects your capability to solve that problem adaptively.
Did you consider his cognition and reasoning?
I'm sorry?
Did you consider his cognition and reasoning when you were evaluating him?
Absolutely.
What did you conclude?
Well, I gave him an IQ test, and he was functioning in the below average range altogether. There's a lot of variability in his intellectual abilities. In other words, most people's intelligence is fairly consistent across different areas. There's verbal intelligence, there's the ability to work with your hands, there's memory, and then there's concentration. He had areas where he functioned fairly well, and then in other areas, he functioned in a fairly poor manner.
Now you mentioned you had
That's a good
tests.
point,
Let's talk about some of
Iris.
these tests.
She did the stuff that required more mental work.
Yeah, was she the puppet master? And he was just a puppet?
Tell us what kind of personality tests.
I mean, if I were the defense counsel, I'd be writing that narrative for the whole trial.
big
Yeah.
time.
The NMPI
She
You got
even
the wrong
handed,
guy. You got
second
the
edition
puppet.
revised.
Mm.
she even
The
handed him
restructured
the
edition,
knife.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
NMPI 2 RF.
Okay, that all three?
And the thematic apperception test.
Thematic, what's the second word?
Apperception test. They call it the TAT.
Let's start with the Rorschach. Tell us what the Rorschach test is.
Well, the Rorschach is the ink blots. It's been portrayed on television over the years. Sometimes people make fun of it. The fact of the matter is that it's a well-validated test that's been around since the 1920s. It's been administered millions of times. And there was a new scoring
He
system.
did kill
that was
somebody,
developed based upon
so we can't
international
let that
norms
go.
in 2011. And
It's
one
a
of the
thing,
things
like
that the
David
Rorschach
was on
test does
panel the
very
other
well
day, and he
is
was
measure
just like,
reality
look,
testing,
the
which
dude
is the
stuck
ability
the
to
knife
perceive
in
your
there and
surroundings
moved it
in an accurate
around.
manner.
He's
And
a
that was the main
psychopath.
reason
We
that I
don't
administered
actually
it.
want him on
It
the
also
street.
provides information about a person's social
Well,
understanding, their
kinda.
understanding of
You're kinda
people, and the ability to interact with others in a cooperative way.
And did you come up with a result after this test?
I did.
What was your conclusion or result?
His ability to perceive reality is tenuous. He had a psychotic episode when he was 13 years old and hallucinated and talked about hearing 7 or 8 different kinds of voices. His mother in the Social
Yes,
Security
it's
records
good.
talked about impaired reality testing, that he had difficulty
Oh,
perceiving
very
reality
common. by the way.
accurately.
Very common.
Yeah.
On the Rorschach test, you look at pictures that resemble
Please
things
pause.
like that.
Sorry, do you want me to go back a bit, Iris? I can.
No,
If
I
you look
think
at
they're
the
just
testing,
want
and
us
he had
to
difficulty perceiving.
pause whenever one of us talks.
Yeah, agreed.
It's
I
hard to do.
apologize for that, Iris. Yeah.
I talk a
reality
lot.
accurately.
Sorry.
That's okay.
On the Rorschach test, you look at pictures that resemble things like a bat. And if you look at a bat and you see something else, that is impaired perception. And there was a significant amount of that, suggesting that his perception of the world around him is often inaccurate. And people usually will have human representations on the test. If you're interested in humans, you see humans on the ink blots. You didn't see a one. Not a fictional human, not a real human, or not a human part. Nothing. No cooperative human movement. And that suggests really deficient social understanding, deficient understanding of people, a lack of interest in people, really.
What about the NMPI test?
The NMPI test is a self-report, true-false test. There's 330 some odd items. They answer true or false to those. There are different scales that measure things like depression, anxiety, mania, paranoia, disturbed thinking, and I had him fill that out.
And did you come to any conclusions as a result of that test?
I did.
What were those?
Mm.
He reported a lot of symptoms. He was not functioning very well at the time that I saw him. He talked about having
No shit.
some unusual sensory and perceptual experiences at that time. He was
Okay.
experiencing some depression, and he was also experiencing some paranoia.
Okay.
And, the third test that you said you administered was the thematic apperception test?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about how you do that test.
As I said, it's a series of pictures that
I want to see this test.
and ask them to make up a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end to correspond with the pictures.
And what was the result of that test?
Very primitive, very basic and concrete stories with very little understanding of the motivations of the characters. It's very simplistic.
Now, in your evaluations, and in particular your evaluation of Mr. Godejohn, do you often use proverbs to try to determine a person's thinking?
Proverbs.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about why you do that.
Well, there's a section called the mental status examination, and part of that section is I ask them proverbs to see if they can think abstractly. And so things like strike while the iron is hot, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Oh, you mean like
Rome
a
wasn't built in a
Oh,
day. Don't cry over spilled milk.
like
And if
an
they can provide an
idiom?
abstract interpretation, they're higher up the developmental ladder.
Oh,
than somebody
okay.
that interprets it concretely.
Yeah. So trying to see how
And so,
how
I
good
did
their
that with
comprehension
Nick.
is.
Do you remember which particular saying you used?
It reflects a level of thinking, right?
Awesome.
Being able to think outside
Yeah,
yourself,
you probably
literal,
are.
outside the literal.
Yeah. Okay. So something like strike while the iron is hot. To understand what that means, that
Yeah, there's no
requires a
hot
level of
iron here.
comprehension.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that. What do you mean hot iron? What does that mean? So you would have had more interaction with people and culture than to be able to take that literally. So iron, hot. I kind of know what an iron is. I know what hot is. What strike mean, and put all those things together. And understand that striking while the iron is hot actually has another meaning.
So you can always know people who learned a foreign language because they lived in that country as a child, because they learned that language in an idiomatic way growing up, right? They heard the idioms. But someone who's learned that in college or in a military language school, they speak technically correct language, but it's not idiomatic. They don't know those expressions. They don't get them right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and if you're say a little bit how do you say challenged mentally, it would take a little bit longer to put those things together. So if you would take things literally at first, and then your brain would need to then put those pieces together, it will take slightly longer potentially. I am not a psychologist or a forensic psychologist, but I would think that would be the case. So we'll see.
Homework is exhibit B.
Just for evidentiary purposes.
Yes, for identification purposes at this point.
Ah, good one, John.
So don't read it out loud, Doctor, okay? Read it to yourself.
Understood. Okay.
You can see it refreshes your recollection.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And which particular proverbs did you use with Mr. Godejohn?
Don't cry over spilled milk. Rome wasn't built in a day, and a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Let's start with the first one. Don't cry over spilled milk. What was his response to that? How did he finish that particular
There is no
proverb?
bush.
He gave an abstract interpretation for that. He said, don't cry over a situation that isn't as big as it seems.
Did that tell him
Okay, he
anything?
got that one.
That was good. That showed some capacity for abstract thought.
Okay. I think the next one you said was Rome was not built in a day.
Yes.
How did you finish that particular one?
He told me he didn't know what that meant.
Oh.
Okay. What does that tell you?
Difficulty with abstract thought.
A bird in a hand is worth two in the bush. Is that the next one?
Yes.
What's this?
And how did you respond to that? Or how did you complete that?
He couldn't interpret that one.
No, I didn't know what that meant.
The last two more.
He doesn't
Do you
like
use
bush.
hypotheticals
I had no idea.
in your testing?
I do.
Why?
Judgment questions. You give somebody a hypothetical scenario and ask them how they would respond to it. And it's a way of getting an idea of their judgment.
And did you use any hypotheticals in the evaluation of Mr. Godejohn?
I did.
It's been my experience that two birds is more
The
trouble
first
than
one,
no
I use
worry.
these all the time. So the first one was, you're sitting in a crowded movie theater and you're watching the movie, the place is packed, and you're the first one to see smoke and fire in the building. What should you do?
And why do you ask that?
Well, there's a right answer to it and there's a wrong answer to it. And so it's a way to assess judgment.
And what was his answer in the evaluation?
Probably yell fire and run out of the building.
Do you consider that to be the right answer?
No, that's the exact thing you don't want to do, because if you yell fire, you're going to create panic.
You asked him any other hypotheticals?
I did.
What was that?
You're walking beside a lake and you see a small child playing alone, unsupervised, out at the end of a pier next to the water. What would you do?
I got arrested
What
for
was his
that.
response to that?
His judgment was better in that situation. He said, I'd probably ask them where their parents are and contact the authorities. I'd try and find the parents of the child, maybe.
Okay, good. Good.
How literal and robotic, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's basically what you're supposed to
it's
do.
like the
is
handbook
make sure that
answer.
the child is not unattended
well,
and get help.
It's
Dr.
better
Sawyer,
than
you
throwing them in
mentioned
the
IQ
water.
test. You administered an IQ test. What is the name of the IQ test you administered?
It's called the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, 4th edition. The Wechsler.
I'm sorry, why did you use that?
That's the standard in the field for evaluating IQ.
Tell us a little bit about the test.
Was broken up into 4 components, and they're each considered an aspect of intelligence. One is called.
I will say,
verbal
when I'm an
comprehension.
expert witness, I
Those
do
are
get a
verbal
haircut
tests,
before I test.
vocabulary, information. There's one called
I bet you
similarities
do.
that measures abstract reasoning. And then there's another
And I know how to
subscale
tie my knot.
that is called
on my
perceptual
tie.
reasoning. Those are tests that
Oh my
involve
God.
visual problems.
Even when they
One
don't
is
pay me
putting
for the
blocks
haircut.
together to make geometric
He isn't very well
They
presented. I
literally,
agree with you.
are paying you for the haircut. They're paying you for your presentation to the jury.
Oh,
They're
well,
literally
no,
paying
I
for
mean-
all of it. The tie, the haircut, all of it.
No, I just meant when you did it for the public defender for pro bono.
I had a haircut and I wore my tie properly. I showed up ready.
I would believe that you would. Yeah, like this guy can't tie.
They
his own
loved
tie.
me. We interviewed the jury afterwards, by the way. They loved me. Yeah. I was,
Yeah, unless
I was great.
unless you're Chuck Norris.
Then they found your Twitter.
They found you.
Later.
All right, guys, we're actually going to close down for the day. we have more testimony to play, not tomorrow night, because we have the Murdoch retrial, pre-evidentiary hearing conference, which we are running from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have no idea whether that's when it starts or not, but I'll be going live from then, sitting there waiting for everyone to arrive like this. And that's me staying up all night from 12 midnight my time until goodness knows when. That is called Becky in a Box. So Becky in a Box is starting from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
hey, you want to guess for that?
Yeah,
I might be able to make that. I'd be interested in
keep
watching
me company.
that.
Yeah, keep me company. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I'm several thousand miles away.
Yeah. And you're snowed in too, so fun. Yes.
All right. You're signing off. I have to sign off too. My dinner's almost ready. The chicken's in the oven. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Send me a link for tomorrow.
Lovely.
I would like to watch.
I will send you a link.
Thing. And that'll be great. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Murdocking away.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you, Andrew.
Thank you. Alrighty. Yes. So Becky in a Box is, where's the link? Someone already posted the link. Yes, subscribe to Law of Self-Defense. Make sure you subscribe. So it's a good look. I suppose so. I'm gonna try. I don't see why not.
I'm sure.
I mean, look, I'm all the way over here. What's going to happen to me? Are they going to chase me down?
They can't do anything to you.
No.
It's just if you can find a stream, that's the only thing. So.
Well, yeah. Okay. So worst comes to worst, I end my stream. Oh, yeah. Dali ends the stream.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, worst comes to worst, Dali ends the stream. So, I mean, worst things have happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's never happened before.
If it goes the full day, I should be able to leave an hour or two early and rush home and come on. So if it goes all day, I'm not sure how long it'll go, but yeah.
Okay. So anyway, just make sure that you guys have got this link. So did that go over? Oh, no, the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Becky in a Box, Alex Murdoch, retrial, evidentiary hearing, pre-conference, live with EU and Dali and guests. Clearly, we've got guests because Branko just said he's going to be there. It's going to be Beck-Dick.
Now, it's the evidentiary, or it's a pre-conference to decide, I guess, who's testifying. It sets up the groundwork for the main finale at the end of the month. This is going to be huge tomorrow. And then...
Huge.
D large.
D black.
Everything.
And at the end of the month, that's when the main finale goes. 3 days. Yeah. I cannot tell you how excited I am for tomorrow, and then even more excited for the end of the month when this starts.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Mo is live, so we'll go over there.
Ah, great.
So
help a girl
just
out.
chitty chat for a second.
What?
What? I said. I did like. Oh, okay. You might need to explain that.
I was expecting more from the testimony. Like honestly, I was expecting
from which
more.
Testimony?
Yeah, from the testimony today.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's this guy.
Well, there's still another guy yet, and we're not finished with him.
Yeah.
So we've still got 20 minutes left of him, and then there's another one.
Did we get to Cross?
No, he was. No, we haven't done Cross yet.
Okay.
But honestly, yeah, you're right. And actually, I wasn't expecting more because the whole reason there's an appeal is because of
ineffective assistance.
Yeah, ineffective counsel. So if I really wasn't expecting it to be fantastic for Mr. Nick at all, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, and as Branko said, it did feel very slapped together. It did not feel like there was much preparation involved in that at all.
And it was a compliment.
It's like they called that guy the day before, basically, or a couple of days before, and just got him to interview Nick, do a couple of tests, and then talk about very generic terms of what Asperger's is. So, yeah, it didn't seem like it was done very well. Okay, we are going to raid Mo. I've raided Mo once already today. We'll do it again. Yay. I love it. I love it. I love being able to share, everyone sharing everything around.
I know.
And I love it also when I'm in the chat and get to do it. It's like being on a slippery slide. It's like, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. All right. Off you go, guys. Have fun. And we'll see you 9 a.m. for Back in a Box. And more the day after Thursday night, 6 p.m. will be more of this. Dali Rose.
Yes.
Dali Rose. See you guys later. Go rating.
But did you eject?